One of these vintage packs could contain a card that survived untouched for over 40 years.
And one of these 90s packs might be completely fused together into a solid brick.
Today we're hunting for lost treasures, exposing vintage scams, and finding out whether these cardboard time capsules survived the journey. Welcome back to the lab. Today we aren't engineering the future of cards, we're hunting down their origins. We're putting away the digital calipers, putting on the explorer gear, and travelling back into the 20th century. Welcome to Raiders of the Lost Card.
Today we're diving deep into the late 70s, 80s and 90s. This is the foundation modern entertainment card collecting was built on.
And it all starts with one of the most important collaborations in the hobby history, Topps and Star Wars. When Topps partnered with Lucasfilms in 1977, they just didn't create a successful trading card set, they created a blueprint.
The cards became a phenomenon. Kids weren't just collecting baseball players anymore. Suddenly, they could collect their favourite movie.
And once companies saw that success, they all came to the same conclusion. Every summer blockbuster and every television show was a license to print money. Throughout the late 70s and 80s, card companies chased licenses everywhere. Action shows, science fiction, cartoons, comedies, fantasy films, you name it, somebody was printing cards for it.
The funny thing is that many of those licenses disappeared almost as quickly as they arrived. Some movies lasted a few weeks in cinemas. Some television shows survived a single season, but the cards remained.
Today, those forgotten sets have become cardboard time capsules, preserving the pop culture moments that many people barely remember. In the vintage era, title cards and checklist cards are the alpha and the omega, just like the first and last card in numbered hits today. People often toss these checklists aside like trash, but back then they were the ultimate gatekeepers. Kids would physically tick off boxes with a biro to track their progress. Because of that, finding an unmarked, pristine, mint condition checklist card today is an absolute rarity. They command a massive premium because almost every single one was either written on, bent, or thrown away.
And look at the layout of the era. They relied heavily on vertical character profile cards. Today, we take dynamic framing for granted, but in the late 70s and early 80s, flipping a card vertically to give a character a solo towering profile was a massive design feature that made certain cards look like mini posters. This era also birthed the original entertainment rookie card concept, like hunting the very first Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader card from 1977, or the A-Team crew from 1983. But before we open any of these time capsules, we have to talk about the dark side of vintage hunting, tampering and resealing.
Because loose vintage packs from the 70s and 80s have skyrocketed in value, they have become a primary target for scammers. People will open a pack, slide out the high-value rookie or character card, then replace it with a worthless common card, and then reseal the pack. As a lab, you need to know exactly how to audit a pack before your money leaves your hand. Firstly, check the crimp seals and alignment. From the factory, the top and bottom crimps are cut simultaneously, meaning the front and the back patterns should align perfectly. If the crimp lines are crooked, melted, or misaligned, it's an immediate red flag. Secondly, look for adhesive residue. Scammers often use a hot glue gun or a hair straightener to melt the plastic back together. Look for hard, crusty brown spots along the wax fold. Or loose rubbery glue strings under the back flap. Genuine factory seals are smooth and uniform.
Another thing collectors look for is the gum stain. After 40 years, the gum usually leaves a visible mark on whichever card it touches. It's not a guarantee of authenticity, but the gum looks unusual, the stain is missing, or the pack smells strongly of modern adhesive. It's definitely worth investigating further.
Okay, we actually lost audio when we recorded this clip. For some strange reason, the microphones failed to record what myself and Ben were saying. So I'll just talk over while I watch the clip back myself, and hopefully I don't leave out any information that we were talking about while we're opening these packs. All three are wax packs. All four are wax packs. We've got 2 packs from Batman 89, a pack of Dick Tracy, and a pack of E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And obviously E.T. is the oldest pack that we've got there. All 3 of the 4 packs came with a stick of gum. Dick Tracy was the only one that didn't come with a stick of gum. And surprisingly, Dick Tracy, you got 16 cards in the pack and a sticker for 99 cents, as you can see from the front cover. I was around when Batman 89 was in cinemas. I was quite a young lad. I can't recall ever buying them. I did buy the Batman Returns cards, but not the Batman First Series. Obviously, the cards, they were basically based on the movie, so you virtually just got scenes. And as we spoke about earlier on in the video, it's all about getting that all-important title card and checklist card. And then you've also got your vertical character profile cards, especially if this is the first movie in a series of movies. Most of those character profile cards will be rookie cards, so to speak. So as Batman 89, you'd be looking for Michael Keaton's Batman and Bruce Wayne, obviously Jack Nicholson's Joker, Commissioner Gordon, even Billy D. Williams' Harvey Dent. Then iconic scenes, then first appearances by a vehicle or a side character. These are all sort of chase cards which collectors sort of go for. So even though there's no parallel inserts or foil cards in these packs, there's still value if you pull the right cards. And one of the things that I think I didn't really mention earlier on in the video is with these wax packs, a good indication that you're going to get some good corners is if the actual corner of the pack is still sealed. So the cards themselves haven't worn through that wax paper. As you can see, back in the day, kids would have just ripped these open without a care in the world. They wanted to see if they got any of the cards that they were missing from their set, if they had any cards that they could trade at school. And obviously that stick of bubblegum was a selling point as well. And I think I actually remarked to Ben here that, we'll talk about the chewy. So here's the gum. It is firmly stuck to that card. In this series, it seems to be placed on this sticker I've opened another number of these packs in the past, and it's always on the back of the sticker card, which was a puzzle piece. And unfortunately, as you see when I turn this card over, it's a fairly good sticker card. So you are going to be disappointed. As you can see on the screen there, you can see where the actual bubblegum has done damage to the back of that card. And most of these cards, particularly scene cards, will always be vertical. And again, if you're collecting a particular character, say Batman or the Joker, throughout his history of appearing in trading cards, then you don't only just want the character profile cards that appear at the front of the set, you'd obviously be chasing scenes where they're in. And just on the back of the card, just a brief description of what is that scene's about. It'll have the number, and then it'll have coming up in what the next card is basically going to be about. So you basically got anticipation of what the next card was, as well as even if you didn't get the checklist, you knew what card was coming next. So it's a pretty good Batman card there. Obviously not his rookie card, because I think I turned this one over and it's obviously later on in the movie, and possibly the first appearance of the Joker in the movie, coming out of that elevator scene where he confronts Carl Grissom for setting him up. So not a bad first pack. There was some good scene photos in there, a couple of Batman cards, and then of course the disappointment of the lot was that Joker, and you can see right there where the sugar from that chewing gum has adhered itself to the back of that card. So move on to the second pack. This one was a little tougher to get open, but again, there was no residue from a second adhesive. Ben's got a better sense of smell than what I do, so he gave the packs a bit of a smell. So no mod adhesives. And just personally, I don't think you would get that from a retailer. Like, again, the gum being stuck on there. And that one was stuck fairly well. And yet again, it's left a lovely little mark. And as I turn that sticker card over, we have the bat wing. So again, a bit disappointing that happens. But when you're dealing with cards that are over 37 years old and they did have gum in them, then unfortunately sometimes that's the price you pay. Getting back to what I was saying before about scammers and so forth, you're probably really only going to encounter them on eBay or Facebook groups or Gumtree or Marketplace or wherever you're sourcing your secondhand cards from. You would not, probably would not get that if you went into a retailer, because they'd be jeopardizing their reputation. And I think that there's one thing that I've noticed from retailers, whether it's Dream Collectibles or Cherry or a lot of others out there in the marketplace, is that, you know, they're running a business and it's in their vested interest to make sure that you're a happy customer. So mainly with the due diligence with the packs, it's mainly when you're buying them and you're not actually physically looking at the stock before you buy them. And we're going to have a video later on in the season where we talk about where to get your cards from. We're going to do a deep dive into eBay, whatnot. and bricks and mortar stores, online stores, and even vending machines, which you may have seen in various shopping centres around the country, but that's at a later date. So here we are with Dick Tracy. Again, what we mentioned before in the video about licenses and, companies just going nuts. They saw the success or the phenomenon that was Star Wars, and it wasn't just with the first movie, obviously the 2 preceding movies. But it was just like, well, this is a summer blockbuster film. We're going to do merchandise around that. And remember, it wasn't just cards that was the merchandising juggernaut that attached to that first Star Wars film. Clothing, action figures. As you can see, the sticker for this one is right in the center of it. And again, you'd be targeting rookie profile cards, iconic scenes. Now, we do get a lot of rookie cards in this set, which was good. And there was actually a lot of A-list actors who starred in this film at the time. So you had people like Dustin Hoffman, Madonna, obviously Warren Beatty, who directed and starred. He was a big Dick Tracy fan and basically told Disney that if they wanted him to direct it, he wanted to star in it. And he actually top-loaded the movie with as many of Dick Tracy's rogue gallery as he could, because if he thought if he didn't get a sequel, at least would have got all these characters on the screen. And there was our first rookie card, a flat top. And the kid as a rookie card, and I think we get Madonna's character's rookie card as well. And just looking at that, the centering is not too bad on these. There is a bit of a gloss finish to these cards, but this was before they started with the UV coating, so none of them were really sticking together. Again, there was no damage to the outside of the pack around the corners, so the corners were all very good or in good condition. Here's our sticker. And again, something that I should have mentioned in the previous 2 rips with Batman 89 was that most of the sticker cards served as a dual purpose. So once the kids tore the sticker off, on the back of it was normally a puzzle piece that you could put this puzzle together. And those of you who can remember way back to the Scanlon's footy days would know that on the back of the card was a piece of a puzzle, and normally you made this iconic scene of a high-flying mark. But anyway, we'll get back to this. Again, just a bit of a description of what the scene's about, the card number, and what was upcoming on the next card. Mind you, these are all tops, so they would have all been universal in their approach to that. And there's more iconic scenes. Al Pacino was also in this film playing the lead gangster. He actually wanted to go under a pseudonym rather than being credited as Al Pacino in the credits. So, as I said, 16 cards and a sticker for 99 cents. So, I don't know whether Topps made a return on this. We tried to do research on profit and loss with these sets before we made the video, but couldn't find a great deal. And again, it's just about doing research. Like, if you feel that you've pulled a fairly valuable card, then do some research. Check on eBay, see how much the card sold for. Go into a store like Cherry or Dream Collectibles and speak to one of the guys down there. Show them what you've got, see if it's worth something. So again, there was no sort of residue around the pack. But then this one was really stuck there. And there was some real discoloration on that piece, which had transferred over to the back of the card, which was a bit disappointing. But like I said before, this is just the way of the lamb. So again, title cards, profile character cards, like an ET rookie card would be something that you would chase in this sort of pack. Elliott's, iconic scenes. There is something interesting that's coming up here, and I'm going to have to do some research on it because I'll wait until I get to it. It's the sticker that we pull in this card is like a family portrait. Using this, here we go, and the older brother is missing from that. So there you see Elliot and Drew Barrymore. Excuse me. One thing you know about Elliot's mum, she was in the Howling movies and most recently in Supernatural. Here we've got some, obviously again, same layout with tops. A very nice vertical card of ET, but that would not be his rookie card. But then we pull the title card, which was really great. Except, as I think I'm about to show, you can see that there is an imperfection on the face of the card, which is extremely disappointing because just looking at it, the corners were nice. The centering was very good, except, and you can just see that there, right just below the moon, there is a imperfection. And there in the light, as I'm just pointing it out now. It is something which is obviously that the print surface has started to lift from the cardboard, or there was an air pocket when it was first printed. I did try pushing on it to see if I could make it go away. Wishful thinking. No, I couldn't. So that took what potentially could have been an 8 or a 9, probably down now into the realms of a 5 or a 6. Is it worth grading? I believe it is because it's a sought after card. It's something which you can have in your PC. These packs weren't cheap, so to pull a title card, and I've opened one of these packs before, I've also got the checklist card. So I've got the Alpha and Omega of this set. Will I buy another pack to try and chase an ET or an Elliott rookie? Probably not. So, I mean, I've got the Alpha and the Omega and the title and the checklist of that series now. So, yeah, as you can see, fairly straightforward. And
Welcome to the comic book boom from the 1990s. This is where the landscape experienced a massive technological volcanic eruption. The force shifted to legendary artists like Jim Lee, Joe Jusko, and Todd McFarlane, designing custom art specifically optimized for high-end printing tech.
it was the birth of the modern chase card, Marvel Masterpieces holofoils, Marvel Metal Blasters, and Skybox holograms. But the 90s introduced a brand new engineering flaw that every vintage collector needs to understand: the bricking crisis. In the early 90s, manufacturers introduced premium UV coatings that gave cards a luxurious, glossy finish.
Unfortunately, collectors later discovered a hidden problem.
Collectors loved the sleek luxury feel, but nobody anticipated the long-term chemistry. If these high-gloss cards are subjected to incorrect storage, specifically pressure stacked in boxes inside human environments, like an Australian garage or a damp cupboard, the UV gloss completely fuses together over decades. These cards literally form a solid, inseparable brick.
It's a massive gamble when opening pack fresh 90s boxes today. If you try to force them apart, you face catastrophic paper loss, tearing a beautiful artwork right off the cardboard. Collectors have experimented with techniques such as controlled cooling or gentle warming to separate stuck cards, but success varies dramatically. Every attempt carries risk, which is why proper storage is so important.
And the tragedy of the bricking crisis is that the companies who engineered these cards aren't even around to see the long-term damage. The two titans behind our 90s packs today, Impel and Flare Ultra, were completely wiped out by the very boom they created.
It's wild corporate history. Impel, who made a 1991 DC Cosmic Pack, was growing so fast they rebranded a Skybox International in 1992. Meanwhile, Flare was the premium gold standard, launching their high gloss ultra lineup in 1994.
They were making so much money off comic properties that Marvel Comics noticed. In 1995, at the absolute peak of the spectacular bubble, Marvel went on a massive buying spree. They bought Skybox for $150 million, bought Flare and merged them into one giant company, Flare Skybox International.
Marvel wanted to own the entire ecosystem, but they made a fatal error. They aggressively overproduced everything. The market completely collapsed under the weight of the junk wax era. Collectors walked away, and that massive card company debt actually pushed Marvel Entertainment to an absolute bankruptcy in 1996.
The Flare Skybox name staggered along in survival mode before finally shutting its doors and filing for bankruptcy in 2005. The leftover assets were bought up by Upper Deck, which is why modern Marvel cards bear the Upper Deck logo today.
So when we open these two premium 90s foils packed today, we aren't just opening cardboard, we are opening artifacts from a literal corporate war zone. Let's see if the hobby gods are on our side, or if we are about to pull a solid brick from a long dead empire.
Ironically, when we're doing the rips, so I'll just read through my notes again like I did on our previous rip. So obviously these two sets were from 1990s, has been explained, when the comic boom really happened. So we've got the first sort of release of DC from Impel. I'm again just checking the crimp seal, that one that runs down the spine, also checking to see if there are any odds on insert pulls and there was not. There was only 10 hologram inserts for this particular set. They were Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Hawkman, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Captain Atom, Justice League. So they were your chase cards. It was 180 base set. So obviously there was a lot of base set cards that people chase today, which hold some value. And they, of course, are the Trinity, which, of course, is Superman, card number 1, or your title card, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. And I think we actually pulled the Flash in this pack, which was pretty cool. You got key villains in the base set as well: Darkseid, Lex Luthor, Brainiac. You've got fan favourites like Martian Manhunter, the Green Lanterns, so Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner. Very popular, famous artists. This set is notable for employing legendary comic artists like Joe Kubert and Jill Kane. Cards displaying their signature artwork do carry a premium. And then, ironically enough, there's that Flash card number 2. Flip him over, it just has a little bit of information about this Barry Allen, his first appearance in the comic books. So if you are trying to hunt down Barry Allen's first appearance as the Flash, one thing, I'll get back to it, is missing from this set is no Batman. No Joker, no Riddler, no Robin, no Alfred. And it was due to licensing rights at the time. You got to remember that this set came out in 1991. This was around the time that Warner Brothers Studios were producing Batman Returns, and obviously Topps had the licensing rights for those 2 films. Whether they extended to comic book imagery, I do not know. If you know if that's the case, please leave some comments about it. It's one thing to say that that Batman's missing from a DC comic set, one of the founding fathers of DC, and of course one of the founding members of the Justice League. So whether Topps was throwing its weight around and said no, or whether it was Warner Brothers or whoever, not really sure. But these cards were really nice. Really like the comic artwork on the card. They weren't bricked, obviously not, because these ones weren't coated with that UV protective spray over the top. And unfortunately, we didn't get any holograms. So, but we did pick a Flash. So the next set we had was the 1994 Flair Ultra X-Men Premium Edition. The moment I picked this pack up, I knew that it was bricked. I didn't know how bad it was, and you never do until you open it. There are things that you can do to mitigate that. Some say, as Ben said, exposing it to hot air. I've watched YouTube clips of people waving it over with a hairdryer on a low setting. People putting them in the freezer and then taking them back out, putting them back in. So you got to be careful, because this set wasn't exactly cheap. As you can see, they are not exactly glued together. There was a bit of a resistance of me doing this, but they did come apart fairly easily. So the chase cards in this would have been the inserts. There was quite a few of them. So with the Silver X-Overs, they were exclusive to warm-up packs. They were a full foil version of the base crossover subset. They're rare and the most valuable to pull.
So I had no idea where this pack was in just a hobby box or a retail box or whatever. Then you've got your team portrait puzzle, a 9-card interlocking puzzle set painted by fantasy art legends Greg and Tim Hildebrandt. You've got your individual cards like Wolverine, Jean Grey, while a full 9-card team portrait set generally commands solid value as well. You've got Fatal Attractions Power Blast. So these 6 metallic etched foil cards capture the brutal comic storyline where Magneto extracts Wolverine's adamantium skeleton. And that was over, I think, a 6 comic book story arc. I've got all 6. It's a really, really good read. And just goes to show how vulnerable Wolverine can be, where his greatest strength, his adamantium skeleton, is also his greatest Achilles heel. You've got Team Triptych. That was another Walmart exclusive. It was a 6-card retail-only insert featuring the X-Men Blue and Gold Combat Strike teams. And then you've got another 6-card foil insert, X-Men's Greatest Battles, highlighting clashes from the iconic 1990s animated TV series. So they were your inserts. So this is when inserts really started to take off with your fetched oil and so forth. And it wasn't just limited to comic books, comic cards, TV series. The X-Files have some really amazing etched foil and hologram cards in their first few seasons as well. Moving on to the base set, this was a 150 card base set. So obviously popular characters, your fan favourites like Wolverine, Deadpool, Gambit, Rogue, Psylocke. They always carry a lot of strong demand with collectors. Your X-Over subset, which was cards 103 to 108. And they the standard base versions of the classic comic book crossover events like Mutant Massacre, Inferno, and Fatal Attractions. Team up duos, cards highlighting 2 characters together are particularly popular, I should say, such as number 112, Psylocke and Sabretooth, number 113, Beast and Gambit, which I think we pulled at the very start, and number 114, Cyclops and Rogue, and then you've got your Excalibur and X-Force subsets. So late set team character profiles featuring high energy early 19 comic book art design. So my first impressions of the Impala and the Ultra Flare cards, highly impressed with the artwork. Like I said, the risk with the Flare Ultra was the bricking. We didn't sort of really do a deep dive into how bad some of those cards that were stuck together, whether there's any residue left on either card or have been removed from the face of the card. It's just an unfortunity of what you could potentially happen if you buy these. They are expensive, so it's buyer beware sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed that pull. We got some good cards out of it as well. Let's run the final box math. How does the vintage hunt stack up against the modern era, and what's the lab's final verdict? When you hunt for lost cards, the financial risk can be enormous. A common card might be worth a few dollars, while an unopened vintage box can cost thousands.
You're also dealing with variable that modern collectors rarely think about: storage conditions, bricking, gum damage, fading, and the possibility of tampering packs.
Modern products benefit from better materials, improved manufacturing, and more consistent quality control. The risks haven't disappeared entirely, but many of the problems vintage collectors face are dramatically reduced. The vintage hunt is one of the most rewarding journeys in the hobby. Every pack is a piece of history. Every set tells the story of a movie, television show, artist, or cultural moment that once captured the world's imagination.
And sometimes those moments vanished almost overnight, leaving only the cards behind.
If you're going to explore the vintage vault, do your research, inspect carefully, and buy from reputable hobby stores wherever possible. A big thank you again to the crew at Dream Collectibles for stocking these cards for us novices to purchase and enjoy.
Drop a comment and tell us the oldest entertainment card in your collection.
Or the worst vintage horror story. Keep hunting.